All right, good morning, everybody, to another exciting day with some logical reasoning and puzzles. Let me just check as usual. If anyone can let me know in chat that you can both see and hear me, that would be great, and then we can start our discussion.
Loud and clear.
All right, perfect. Now, we have introduced some logical reasoning concepts, deductive reasoning. I just want to quickly review our basic structure of deductive reasoning because it's going to come up now as the main form of reasoning that we use as we attempt to solve some logical puzzles. And when doing these puzzles, I don't want to have any guesses at any time. As soon as I make a guess, I can't write and speak something else. As soon as I make a guess, then I probably will run into a mistake somewhere else. It is surprisingly difficult to write one thing and talk about something else. Okay, there we go. So in the basic structure of deductive reasoning, I have what we call the premise. Now, it's some sort of truth that everyone accepts. In our puzzles, it'll be the rules of the puzzle for how it works. But just to make up something, we said if it rains, then the grass is wet. I need to emphasize this uh, structure just in case someone didn't look at that lesson or we don't remember it. So then we make some observation, perhaps. Let's say today it's raining, and then we can conclude that therefore the grass is wet. Okay. Our alternative structure will be some often more useful. So our premise is going to be the same in our example. Our observation is going to be that the grass is not wet. And then our conclusion will be, therefore, it didn't rain or it's not raining or whatever tense you want to look at here. We're not going to worry about technicalities. So I want to have the right idea in mind before jumping into the puzzle so that I'm extra aware of what we're doing when we're solving these puzzles and exactly how are we always 100% confident when we systematically fill them in. I want to think of the rain in the grass and a situation like, okay, let's suppose I don't look outside and I'm assuming it is raining. I'm making an assumption that it's raining. If I then go and feel the grass and the grass is not wet, I can then say that that contradicts my original assumption of rain. Because under the premise, if it rains, then the grass will be wet. If I assume rain, but then I should find wet grass. If I then go and touch the grass and I find a contradiction to that, I can conclude with certainty that it couldn't have rained. That's the idea that we're going to take with us mainly. All right. So now we have our first kind of puzzle, or first section, sort of the same style puzzle, but two different puzzles. The first one is called a Karuji puzzle. Now, not too many people know about Karuji. I simply have a box with some empty squares, as some letters are already filled in, and my goal is to fill in the other letters following some clues or rules for how they should be filled in. So if I look at this first one, exercise 2.5, we start small, so there's not much missing. They tell me which letters A, B, C should go in the first row, F, G, and H should go somewhere in the second, L, M, and N should go somewhere in the third row. And then they give me clues, rules, see it how you want. I have to follow these. I have to satisfy these properties, if you will. M is one column to the left of G. H is one column to the left of C. Now, some of you might find this one fairly straightforward because we don't have a lot of missing things. We don't have a lot of actual clues. These last two are the only significant ones. But I want to start with something small to really focus on the reasoning that we're going to use because we're not going to write everything out. If I, even for this small situation, if I write out everything we're saying every time we're using deductive reasoning in detail, that's going to be pages of writing, even in this small example. So I think no one really wants to do that, but with that then comes the very important issue that I really have to pay attention to what I'm saying, how I'm saying things at every step, because I'm not seeing it, I'm only listening or speaking it. So we have to go slowly and be really careful. So I have it set up over here. I just want to make sure my pen is the right size. I think that's too big. That's pretty good. Okay, so I have some restrictions. I have to put A, B, and C in the first row, F, G, and H in the second, L, M, and N in the third. So those are just my reminders. Okay, so now it says we're looking at this clue first. I just want to check if my webcam isn't in front. No, it's good. Okay. Now we look at the clue. M is one column to the left of G. Now I want to go really slowly here so that we can see how the rain and grass deductive reasoning is being done here. M is one column to the left of G. Now I know M has to be in the third row, G has to be in the second row. I'm just going to use a red color or a pink again. Just to notice what my assumption is. I'm going to assume. Let's try M in that first position. I know it has to be in one of those two positions. So let's assume it's in that first position. It's red, so it's not a certainty yet, right? Then M is one column to the left of G, so that means G has to be over here. But then I go and observe what's in there, and it's F. I can therefore conclude with certainty that M cannot be in that first position. Does everyone notice how that is exactly the same as the rain and grass structure of deductive reasoning? I'll say it again. Because some of these things are new and not easy, doesn't come naturally for us. So I know M has to be in one of these two spots. I'm going to make an assumption. Let's just see. Let's say M is in that first spot. We don't know for sure. We're just going to see. Like without looking, we're going to assume it rains. I then go and see, well, what does that mean? Well, that would lead, because of this M is one column to the left of G rule, that G is in this middle position in its row. I then see F, which contradicts my assumption that M was in the first spot. I see the grass is not wet. G can't be there. Therefore, it couldn't have rained. So it's that basic structure that in one form or another, there's a couple of different versions of the same thing we're going to use over and over. Sometimes in an obvious way, sometimes in a slightly less obvious way. But whenever we fill in any letter, it's very important that everyone be very clear on why we can do that with 100% certainty, because we don't have anything written down. So it's very difficult to backtrack. So as we're filling in these puzzles, simple or not, it's very important that you ask as we're doing it. Well, wait, why are you crossing out an M there? I missed it. It's very difficult after this is done to backtrack and redo our argument. Okay, so now I have concluded with certainty M cannot be in that first position. Because there's only one spot left for M, I can put it in its position with certainty. Then there's only one spot for L, so that's certain as well. Now I can look and say, well, M is one column to the left of G, so that means that G has to be in the last spot in its row. That leaves only one position for H. And then I can use the next clue, the last line here. H is one column to the left of C. To conclude with certainty, C has to be in the second position, leaving only one spot for B, and I'm done. But it's very important, again, when we write something in black, let's say, that is, we have to be 100% certain when we do that. I've seen people, when they do the problems and sort of work a little bit more on their own, they don't really check that 100% certainty every single time and just think, oh, I think it's over here. I'm going to put this in here, in this box. And then at the end, everything falls apart and they don't know where it went wrong. Because there was some step where I wasn't 100% certain and I actually chose the wrong one and I guessed, even if it's a little guess. Any questions on how this puzzle works before we look at a more complicated, bigger version? Or just confirmation that you understand everything? That would also be good, but only if you actually do. I know, stunned silence. That's all we get.
Everything looks good.
Okay, good, good.
Looks good.
Okay. Don't say it looks good just to make me feel good. It has to actually be feeling good. Okay, now in a 3x3 square or grid, we really don't have many options here, especially if some letters are already done for us. So let us go to exercise 2.6, which gives us a few more options, therefore more complexity and more ways to struggle and carefully think and develop our deductive reasoning skills. Okay. Now, in the bigger case, it's very hard for me to keep track of what all the clues are saying. But let's just get started. So I have A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D in the first row. I just write them here so that they're nice and close, and I know right away which letters should go in the rows. F, G, H, and J, L, M, N, and O, Q, R, S, and T. All right. Nothing really for that otherwise, other than just being aware of the letters. Okay. But when I look at the first clue, for example, I might as well start with the first one, the first significant one. C is one column to the left of G. Now I have so much empty space that that clue doesn't directly allow me to fill in anything. And the next one, S is one column to the left of B. That doesn't allow me to fill in anything either. And as I go, I notice that it's a little bit more complicated in that, contrary to the previous example, a clue doesn't allow me to quickly do something. And the more clues I read, the more difficult it is to remember them. So it's very easy to get confused. So something that could help me just keep track of what clues have said as I work my way through this is to just make little subscripts in the bottom corner, uh, telling me what my options are and which options are eliminated by a clue. Because even though C is one column to the left of G doesn't tell me what I can put in with certainty, it does eliminate some options, and that could help me in the future. So C should be in the first row, G should be in the second row. C is one column to the left of G. So it could be that C is over here and G is over there. That's a possibility. It's a little letter in the bottom, right? I haven't committed my letter yet. It could be C is second, G is third, C is third, G is fourth. So I have some options. I don't know which one it is, and I can't guess. But what I do know is that C can't be last and G can't be first. Then this property cannot be satisfied, right? So by doing it this way, I've eliminated some options. Like if I put a C in a little corner and there's no C, that means C can't be in that one, and G can't be in that first one. So I've eliminated some options for C and G. Still many options left, so I don't know for sure, but it is a step in the right direction. Okay, so that's going to be my method to just help me keep track of how the clues are giving me information, even if it's not super useful right now. So this is going to happen over and over. Next one, S is one column to the left of B. So S could be here and B could be second. S could be second and B could be third. S could be third and B could be fourth. I don't know, but I have made progress. I have eliminated the possibility that B is first and S is last. Okay, so I just want to pause here and double check that everyone is with me because I can't see any expressions, whether it's good or confused expressions. I want to be very clear on the strategy that I'm using and how I'm keeping track of information. How does
Yeah, it sounds good.
It
Okay.
makes sense so far.
Because it's very important in any kind of problem solving, puzzles, whatever. It's very important to be super clear on how I'm going to approach this, on my strategy, because that's what I rely on.
I
Okay.
have a
Just
question.
have a quick
Oh, yes,
question too.
absolutely. Hold on. There were two questions. Whoever wants to go
Go ahead.
first.
Oh, okay, I was just gonna ask, does it matter what order you start? If you started at the bottom?
Not at all.
Um,
Because there's no indication of where I should start, and you'll see, we'll go through them all. It really doesn't make any difference because I could
okay.
guess and say, oh, I think the last one is the best clue, and start there. And whenever I do that, the first one's going to be better, maybe. I have no indication, so I might as well just tackle them in the way they were presented. there's no benefit to shuffling them around. I might miss one actually, so it's better to start at the top. So I'm sure that I'm working through all of them and not skipping one accidentally.
Okay, thanks.
Another question?
Um, when you do these puzzles, are you only going to receive instructions horizontally, or will you also see them vertically? Does it matter?
I'm sure, I think Karuji is only horizontal,
Okay.
but I'm sure there could be variations I haven't seen, I haven't bothered to look, that is slightly different. Yeah. But the way I understand the original Karuji puzzle is only horizontal. But you can easily modify this, I'm sure. Yeah. We don't want to, well, maybe you want to. In terms of this course, I don't want to have too much variety because that can be overwhelming to some. So we'll just stick to these basic ones. But there's really no end to puzzles and complexity of this kind. All right, so we're making some progress. I've done two of the clues, right? This one, this one. Third significant one. Q is one column to the left of F. Q, one to the left of F. Okay, so I could have Q here and F there, Q here and F there, Q third and F fourth. And again, by doing that, I have eliminated some options for Q and F. F can't be first, Q can't be last. Don't know exactly what to do with that, but maybe later it'll come into play. And all this information is going to combine in some obscure way to eventually help me start putting letters in. But it's much more convoluted and difficult to see where that first letter could be. Well, for me anyway. So I want to go slowly. Definitely stop me at any point if something's not clear. So far, we're just trying to put in some information. Next one, R is one column to the left of N. So R could be here and first, N could be second, R one column to the left. R could be second, N could be third, but that's going to be it. Because R can't be third, L already takes that spot. And R can't be last, of course, because there is no uh, further spot in that row for N. So because there were only two open spots, R and N only have two places they could be. So that helps a little bit. I've eliminated half their options. Still don't know which one it is. Can't guess. T is in the same column as J. Now, I certainly could put a T everywhere and a J everywhere, but that's already there, and I don't want to make this too messy. So when it doesn't eliminate any options, there's really no point for me to put that in. I know J can be anywhere and T can be anywhere. And this clue, and it's in the way it's phrased, T is in the same column as J. I'm going to have to come back to that, and hopefully that helps me later. It doesn't quite help me in the same way. I have to remember there are clues. I need to go back and look at these. So I don't put anything in right now because those squares are really eliminated. There is information, but it's not, I don't want to make this too messy, and I don't know how to put this in yet. That's okay too. That doesn't bother me. I'm going to loop back on these anyway. Last one, similar. D is in the same column as H. It's a different style clue. I'll just have to remember to check these two. I haven't put anything in yet. It doesn't eliminate any specific squares for these letters. Okay, great. So I've gone through them all. We've added some information. To many of us, it'll look like, okay, I've made zero progress here. How am I supposed to do anything? Yes, that's what makes these big ones tricky. You actually get 5x5s as well, and they're just the bigger, the more options, the more clues, the more messy it becomes. Absolutely. Okay, but I'm using this as an example, so I'm here to uh, give us a nice starting point. I want to look at the last row. Now this it becomes easier to know where to look with experience, but a very basic reason for that is I have a few more options in this last row or a few more eliminations, more information than I do the others. See, R, Q, and S have been involved in this last row's information, and the others only have two, and it's not as much information. That's not always a good reason, but it is in this case. So I want to see where T can go. Now, I want to make this as simple as possible. If you have experience with this, you've heard of the pigeonhole principle, things like that, of course. More experience makes things easier. I don't assume any of that. So I want to go red or pink, whatever, to make an assumption and just see how that goes. Now, I want to make it very clear that the red is not a commitment to T in that box. It's an assumption. Let's assume T is in the first square. That then means that that square is out for R, Q, and S. And that means that R only has the second square left as an option. So now it's a little bit longer than the rain and grass. I'm assuming it rained. Then there are logical steps, logical little conclusions I can make, and I want to see where that leads me. So is everyone happy that R has to then be second? Under that assumption,
Under that assumption, yes.
yeah, I don't know if the assumption is true yet. I just want to see. Like, I didn't look outside. I'm just thinking, what if it rained today? Well, then I'm going to have to wear a coat, and that means this, and that means this, and that means the grass is going to be wet, and then maybe I'll see where that leads me, right? So now R is, under this assumption, going to have to be in position 2. Okay. That leaves the third spot for both Q and S because they were both eliminated as options for the fourth square. So this means I have one square for 2 letters, and that's impossible. That means my original assumption was not correct, and T cannot be there. I can't have Q and S in one square. That doesn't work. So I made an assumption. I followed that path logically to see where that leads me. It leads me to something that's impossible, therefore it couldn't have happened. It's the same as the rain in the grass. I assume it rains. That leads me in however many steps to wet grass. I then see grass that's not wet. That means my assumption of rain cannot be the case. How does that feel?
Good.
All right. I mean, sometimes if it doesn't feel good, then it just takes time. It's the very first time, perhaps for some of you, so it takes a while. Now, if you look carefully, you'll see that the second square has exactly the same information as the first. So if I follow the same argument for the second square and assume T would be in there, that leaves R for the first. Both Q and S can't be in the third position. So exactly the same argument. I can conclude with certainty T can't be second either. Exactly the same. What makes this confusing, now of course you have a video, luckily you can watch it back over and over and over. We don't have anything written down, so it's very hard to backtrack and move around in our argument. It's important to keep track as we go. So now I'll try T third. T has to be somewhere. What about the third one? Well, then Q and S are out for that square. And I now have 2 squares, the first and the second, to accommodate both R, Q, and S. 2 squares, 3 letters, can't be done. It's impossible. And I therefore conclude in a very similar way, T can't be third because I run out of squares. Because RQ nor RQ or S, they can't be in the fourth square. So The only square that is left for T is the fourth one. The only square that's left for T is the fourth one, but I now know that with confidence. With certainty, T is in the fourth square. All right, so my first letter. Now, often with these, it can be frustrating and you think, I'm not making any progress, nothing's happening. But once I just have a few letters, it sort of snowballs and the momentum really takes me to the end very quickly. It's just that first couple. Okay, so I have T. That's progress. Now, what I like to do, I don't commit to it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it very often works, is to go and see, is there any clue that has my newly inserted letter in it? So sort of a follow a chain. What could be the next one I can fill in? Well, over here I have T is in the same column as J. So that immediately tells me now that I have T, I have J as well. And I can eliminate those possibilities, right? F and G won't go there anymore. So I now have that clue allowing me to immediately write another letter. Now I can look perhaps, is there something with a J in it? Another clue that maybe unlocks another letter. And in this case, I scan over them. No, there's no more J. That's okay. Sometimes that happens. I just do a scan and see. Is there another quick one I can put in? No, not in this case. But there is something. I've now put in information in row 2, which I should look more closely at. Let's look at row 2. And again, if I say anything too fast, feel free to stop me. And please note that you have the video afterwards, almost immediately afterwards. You can watch it as many times as you want. And I definitely encourage you to do that if any part of this is not super clear. Look at the second row here. F and G have to be somewhere in the second and third square. That means H can't be in those, because as soon as H is in one of those squares, then I don't have enough for F and G. So with confidence, I can say H has to be in the first square, because neither F nor G can be in that first square. They have to be in squares 2 and 3, so that one is kind of indirectly reserved for H. Then I have a new letter. I put in a new letter. Let's scan if there's a clue involving that new letter. Yes, there is, the very last one. D is in the same column as H. So well, then that's a D. And that option for C is out. All right, is everyone still with me? I don't care if it takes me an hour, because it's our first example. We have to be very meticulous and clear on how we're doing this. So we can build on it, and the more you do, the better it gets. I don't remember what the schedule says for tomorrow, but I don't really care either. If we need tomorrow as well, then that's fine. All right. So now I put in a D. All right. Is there a clue that has a D in it? No, not really. No, that's not good. And I still have options for B and C. So nothing really comes to mind. So it seems like I'm sort of stuck, and that can sometimes happen. I can just go to the clues from the start again and work through them and see. I have some letters. Maybe I just missed one of the clues actually helps me. Okay. But if you see one next step, I want to give you a chance as well to look at this and see, okay, what can we do next? What can we do next? Let's see. C is one column to the left of G. C is one column to the left of G. Okay, so let me just rephrase what I'm doing here. I had a new letter D put in. I scanned to see if any other clues involved this new letter, because that often unlocks and the next one. I didn't see a D anywhere else. So now I sort of feel stuck. The only option I have is to work through the clues again to see if any of them reveal something that I didn't immediately notice. So I start with the first one. There's no indication which one, so I might as well start with the first one. And it says C is one column to the left of G. Does that allow me to do anything? I still don't know where G is.
Yeah,
So
you can put G in the third
yeah,
row
see,
there, or
C has
column.
to be to the left of it. So G can't be in the second column anymore then because the left spot isn't there for C anymore. Now, my system of little letters in the corner didn't quite illustrate that immediately, so I had to go back and think about it, and that's okay. The only option to make C and G fit will be the second and third position because D sort of took some of those spots for C. Now, of course, those options are out. C is done. Uh, G is done, so there's only one spot for F left. B still has two spots, so I don't know right away where B should be, and that's okay. So I have made a lot of progress. Okay, so it seems like this clue helped me a lot. Now I don't remember the clues, so I just have to read them over and over and over and see which one now helps me. S is one column to the left of B. S is one column to the left of B. So definitely S cannot be here anymore, right? Because it can't, B can't be second anymore. So I've eliminated some S option. That's okay. But right now, for me, I don't see anything I can put in with confidence from this clue. Q is one column to the left of F. Oh, well, I know F, so that means Q has to be here. So it's a matter of patience and not being frustrated if I don't immediately know what to do next. I don't remember all these clues. I can't keep track of all of their information all at once. So I have to go in loop and just see, oh, things have changed. Does this clue now give me something? The Q one does. And that means Q can't be second or third anymore. Oh, R only has one option. So R has to be second, and then S is done as well. So that snowball is rolling very nicely. Now I maybe, because I just read it, I maybe remember the second clue. S is one column to the left of B. Because I now have S, I remember, or I note that, well, B has to be fourth if S is third. That fixes A, and I'm making a lot of progress now. I just have to look at M and O. Well, this one over here, R is one column to the left of N. That means N is third, and that means O has to be second, and we win. But it's a process, it's a journey that I have to be patient with. And that is a very important skill, almost the most important skill, to when I have a puzzle in front of me, when I have a problem, to just be patient and realize the answer is not going to come immediately, but that's also not an issue really. That if I go slowly and I have a clear plan and strategy, it's really just a matter of time, as long as every step I take is done carefully. All right, any thoughts on this? It's always long, that first one, because I need to make sure that everyone uh, sort of has an idea and that there is a clear video you can watch afterwards. But if this was super slow for some because you've done puzzles like this, it comes easily, that's great. But that's not the case for everyone. All right. Any thoughts on Karuji?
Kind of fun.
Yeah, once you get the hang of it and you are okay with that patience that's required, uh, to not rush and fill in something when you're not 100% confident. As soon as you do, with these big ones, it's probably the wrong letter and things will fall apart eventually. And it'll be very confusing because you don't know where it went wrong. So it can be very frustrating. But that patience is a very important skill as well, and it doesn't come naturally. Now, we do have an exercise 2.7, but I just want to check our time here. Oops, that's not the actual PDF. Let's see over here. Yeah. So exercise 2.6 we did. There is another one, but just in case we don't have enough time for both right now, we can easily do this one in a Q&A session or something. I just want to cover the next type of puzzle. I don't remember if our schedule is only for one day. I think it is. Let me just double check here. Let's check our schedule here. Where are we? Yeah, we only have one day for Karuji and Sudoku scheduled. Now, there might be some time later on, or we could do it in our live Q&A session later. So sometimes it's good to just try on your own a little bit, but I'm happy to do this one as well. We just need to make sure we cover Sudoku as well. So Sudoku might be a little bit more familiar to most of you, where it's very similar. It's not the same, but I'm trying to insert numbers according to certain rules. Now, in the actual Sudoku is a bigger grid, 9 by 9, and my numbers are 1 to 9, and every row has to have the number 1 to 9. Every column has to have the number 1 to 9, and then in these little 3 by 3 sub squares or areas or sections, they also have to have the numbers 1 to 9. But to make it a little bit more manageable time-wise and not change the complexity really, we're going to change it to a 6 by 6. The idea is still the same, where every row has to have the number 1 to 6, every column has to have the number 1 to 6, and all of these little rectangle areas have to have the number 1 to 6. All right, so I have it open here somewhere. Don't ask me where. Nope, not that one. Not that one. I apparently don't have it open. Okay, I will have to open it then. What page is this? 27. Yes. Nope, not page 27. What is happening here? Confusion is happening. Why? Why can't I open page 27? I already have it. That is why. It's here somewhere. I will find it. Okay. There it is. All right. Easily confused I am. Okay. So now we want to fill in the numbers 1 to 6. Every row, every column, every little rectangular section. Now, this is easier than you might think. Um, I have these options available. I don't really know which one I should start with. A rule that you could follow, a rule of thumb, is whichever number you see the most of, it's probably there's a higher chance that you'll be able to fill in that number. For example, I see a lot of ones. There seems to be a fair number of ones. So chances are I can fill in some more ones. So an argument could be, if I look at this column, the first column, it already has a 1 in it. So that row cannot have another 1. It only has exactly enough spaces for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ones. The second column also has a 1 already. So there can't be any other 1. But if I look at this bottom left square, sorry, not a square, it's a rectangle. It has to have a 1 in it. Can't be in that position, can't be in that position because that column already has a 1. The only position that is left for this rectangle is the little square that's left, and so 1 has to be there. Now I made a mess of this, I have to backtrack. So I look at the column, no, 1's already there, so in these first two can't have a 1, so a 1 has to be there. Now all the 1's are done. You see every row, every column has a 1, so I don't need to check 1 again. It's over. Then I can go to another one, another number, maybe maybe a 2, and I can look at this row, this fifth row, and I see that a 2 is already in that row. So a 2 cannot be in any other place in that row. Yet this bottom left rectangle still needs a 2. The only spot that's left is the spot that's left. So these kinds of arguments I just use over and over and over because for our level of complexity, it's going to be more than sufficient. More difficult Sudoku? Yes, then different things happen, but that's not what we're going to aim for. Backtrack a little bit here. So this fifth row already has a 2. This rectangle needs a 2 still, so it has to be there. Now my 2's I don't think are done. I still have some rectangles without 2's. But what I can do in this rectangle is there's one missing number and it has to be a 5. So I don't have to commit. I can jump around whatever I happen to see as long as I eventually fill everything in. It doesn't have to be in order or anything. Okay. So now if I look, I filled in a 5, so maybe I want to jump to 5. See if that unlocks anything. This first column already has a 5. The second column also has a 5 already. But in this top left rectangle, I still need a 5. Can't be in the first column, 5's already done. Can't be in the second column, 5's already done. So it has to be over there. And slowly but surely, I fill in more and more numbers, even though I'm making a mess of this a little bit. So 5 has to be there. Then if I go to this top right rectangle, now there are other things you might see next. I just happen to see this one next. There's definitely not just one path here. There's multiple paths to filling this in. The first row already has its 5, yet this rectangle needs a 5. It has to be in the bottom left of it. And every time I'm filling in something black, I can do it with confidence. So you have to imagine yourself, or imagine someone sort of watching while you're doing this. And every time you write in a number, they sort of poke you. Why are you doing that? What did you just do? Why? Why can you do that? Why? 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 You have to be able to defend the why question or answer the why question at any stage. I wrote in a 5 there. Why do I do that? Can I explain it? Can I defend my 5? At every stage, you have to imagine an annoying friend poking you with why questions all the time. Can you answer those why questions? Because if I can't, I'm not 100% confident, I shouldn't be writing it in. Okay. So I wrote some 5's in. This last column has a 5. The second to last column has a 5. Yet my bottom right rectangle needs a 5. So it has to be over here. I can also see that the fifth row has all but one square filled in. That square has to be a 6. Now I might not be ready to look at 6's, or I might want to then look at a 6. I could just follow the trail where it leads me. I wrote in a 6. Does that unlock anything? Yes, it does. This column, the fourth column, has a 6. And it wasn't the only path I can take here. The last column has a 6, but this top right rectangle still needs a 6. So that 6 has to be over there. 6s aren't done, or I could jump and see, well, this column has all but one number. The 4 is missing, so write in the 4. Does that 4 now unlock anything? Yes, it does. This next column also has a 4, yet my bottom right square needs a 4. 4. Now there's only one number missing here. It is a 3. Maybe that 3 unlocks something. Yes, it does. That column is done for 3, or I could just fill in the missing number here, right? It's what? 2. In this square over here, I still need a 3. Oh, this top square, top right square has a missing number. It's a 2. And I've made a lot of progress. And just using those arguments over and over and over every time with confidence, I can slowly fill in everything. I'm pretty sure you can finish it, but let me just finish it quickly. I have this second row over here. What's missing there is 6. Okay. What else can we do? Oh, this row, this third row is missing a number. It's 4. 4 is already in this second row, so that means 4 has to be over there. That means I only have one missing here, and it's a 3. Now this middle left rectangle still needs a 3. This column already has a 3, so 3 has to be there, and 6 is there, and I'm done. Now, perhaps I went a little fast. Feel free, rewatch the video, do it as many times as you want. I have Karuji puzzle and I have Sudoku puzzle. Because Sudoku is more familiar, it is, I think, the easier of the two. You can certainly try the longer, sort of standard 9x9 version. Nothing changes in our argument or the arguments that we use to fill in numbers. It just takes longer. I have more options. Everything just slows down a little bit. It doesn't change complexity. So I have these puzzles that um, we can practice. Our Sudoku, we don't want to make them too difficult, but of course there are many resources. Just look for easy Sudoku and you can practice to your heart's content. In Discord, I'll put up some more Karuji examples from a PDF that you can freely find on the internet, just to make it easier, so you can practice these as many times as you need. Any last thoughts before we end the lecture here? So somewhere in the Q&A session, I'll do the other Karuji. If there's time, I'll do it in the 12:30 session. But if you ever it's ideal to maybe try it yourself first, see if you can make progress, and then we can discuss it as you need to. All right. Any last words before we finish? I know, speechless. Maybe I did that Sudoku too fast, but just watch the video again and let me know if you have any questions. All right, then we will end it there until tomorrow. See you guys then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.